We're going to do a new animation where we go up these stairs. And so, again, just like before, little drop down up there to get to walkthrough. And then I'll click some points. This time I'll start down on this side. Clicking points in the plan is the really, I was going to say the best way. It's actually the only way I think you can start doing a walkthrough. So I've done the points I want to follow, and then now I want to follow up that staircase. And I've just at this point got to guess what's happening on the next level. There's no easy way to switch floor plans. Well, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I'm just going to click some points here, guessing what's happening on my next level. Finish walkthrough, and if I go to level 1, then you can see the path fairly clearly, but it's showing the part that's going around this bar here hidden because it's on the floor below. So to see that, you probably realise already, you can go to wireframe to make it see-through, and then to adjust the points, a lot of you have worked this out already, when you go to edit walkthrough, it's on active camera, which means, just like I showed you before, I can use the camera there to adjust the direction of that camera view. Now, you might have found that you can drag the camera to each keyframe and adjust the camera once it's snapped to a certain keyframe. But a little tip I can give you there, if you go to the Edit Walkthrough tab and use the buttons there to advance or go back to the previous keyframe, that can be a bit easier than trying to drag the camera to change the direction. That's primarily the reason you want to have that camera accessible. But then what if you want to change the path? And this relates to changing the height as well. Well, you've got to change it here from active camera to path. And then you can change these path points that you've added when you first create the walkthrough. So I can drag any of those points and refine my path essentially. Okay, so then here, that's actually gone through pretty well where I wanted it to. I'm going to go through a closed door there, but that's okay. So you can always adjust the path that you've created with a walkthrough, and you can add and remove keyframes using the drop down there to refine your path further. So I'll maybe add an extra point here, and then I could maybe go back to path if I wanted to make that a bit more a straight path there. Okay, so now I want to look at changing the height of these points. It's basically the same process, but in elevation. So going to the elevation view here, looking at the orientation in my building, it's the west elevation. So looking from this side, west, towards the building. I'll see my path from the side, but again, it's obscured by the building, so I'm going to go to wireframe, and again, once that walkthrough is selected, I need to choose edit walkthrough to see the points. It's on active camera at the moment, so to adjust the path points just like before, I need to go to path, and then I can drag these points. And it can be a little bit confusing when you're looking at this and you're not sure of your path, and that's why again it can help to keep it simple. Don't create long complicated paths because they can be difficult to adjust in a program like Revit. So here, as I lift the points up, it will become clearer which point I've got. So that's a point that's, you know, following the stair roughly. This one here, I can be pretty sure then is the end, or no, it's not actually. So that's another intermediate point. So this one here is the end. There's some more points there that are along the path, and you know, it does take a bit of getting used to, but you'll see as you adjust these heights how it's all working.
So Denny, as you're adjusting those heights in the art,
yep,
is that changing your camera view, or is your camera view staying level? you know what I mean? As you're moving up, is your camera staying straight?
Yeah, it does stay basically straight ahead. You can change it up or down, but yeah, at first it is straight. So now that they're separated, it's a bit easier to tell what's going on there. It'll do things like dip down sometimes, and I wouldn't recommend trying to follow each step. It's much better to just get a smooth path going up your stairs if you do want that kind of animation. Okay, so here, definitely want to bring that one up. And so once we're at the top of the stairs, you often have an issue where it'll try and go up and down, and you really just have to keep refining that. So there, just got to bring this one up further too. Okay, so it's not a full animation program like 3ds Max. You don't get the camera controls that you would have in a full-blown animation package like Max or Motion Builder, but it still does a reasonable job. So there, you can see, even though this point isn't on the stairs, I should really bring that up just to get it to be smoother at the beginning. And now, if I look in the south elevation, it'll help to, again, get a clearer idea of that height change. I'm not going to worry about saving that right now. Okay, I lost the animation because of what happened there, but it's no problem to just go back to right-click on my new walkthrough and show camera again to bring that up, edit walkthrough, and then with the path option, again, I can adjust those heights as necessary. So that's actually not too bad, but it's definitely worth checking. And even in 3D, you can see this. So if I go to just a default 3D view there, and again, show camera, I can see the path and then maybe get a better idea if my heights are correct. So it'll often take a bit of trial and error, but once you get it working, with the path selected again, edit walkthrough, and then open walkthrough, and just like before, do a preview. So with the play now, it's hopefully still fairly flat at the beginning, not too much up and down. And then following up the stairs, not too bad, maybe a little bit jerky there, so I've got to refine that, but then following around here, again, that's not too bad. So just like before, the depth needs to be changed, but they're all things that we looked at earlier. But I'll just quickly remind you, if I change the direction there, that will help. Changing the depth, oops, is essential. So I can give you an idea of the work cameramen have to do and why their cinematographers are paid as well as they are. Right, so then again, just to quickly go through the exporting process. This time I'll do it on realistic to show you that if I try to play this through, edit walkthrough, and let's just go back to the beginning. Because I don't have a lot of detail in this model yet, it's playing through at a reasonable speed. But if you have trees and people in a realistic view, that will really slow it down.
So what have you done down the shaded?
I just put it to realistic down the bottom, just in the shaded mode. Yeah, that's right, that's the maximum you need at the moment. But then to export that, you need to make sure, it doesn't really matter how it's set here, when you go to export it. Okay, same as before, export, images and animation, and then walkthrough. And then it's the option here that you choose. So realistic is good. Realistic with edges, I don't think is any better. Often when you've got realistic, it's nice to have the edges left off. And then again, don't forget, it's the resolution that you set here that is your main determinant of quality. So 1920 is a good width. Oops. Don't click on zoom, remember. It'll change this back to the default, so just leave that. So 1920 by 1440, that's okay. And, well, we'll just, okay. And this time, to make it work a bit better, I won't save to a network drive like I did before. I'll save it to a local drive. That was the main issue with the time. I'm just going to save this to a local folder somewhere here in my documents, is local. Or your desktop. So desktop's local as well. And once I click save, again, don't use uncompressed unless you want to do editing. Just Microsoft Video 1 is fine. Everything else is fine. So, okay there. And you will see it's not going to be that much slower than before because this time it's writing to a local hard drive, not via the network, which is one of the main reasons things slow down. The processing's not that time consuming with these sorts of renders. It's the writing to the file that takes the time, and writing over a network, if it's not running properly, really can slow things down. So you can see how much faster it is. I mean, this is a lot faster than before. So we'll get rid of that one. See, that's still playing in the background, the other one. It hasn't even affected the speed. So notice how the textures, all the other things you do with your materials will come in that realistic view. If you want to take that further, have a look at your graphics options, and you can even turn lights on in these realistic views, and it does a reasonable job showing you the even the artificial lights, but it'll slow things down. So try it just with the default settings first. Okay, so I know it can seem a bit slow, but it's nearly done. Okay, so notice how here, this is the first animation file I made. The next one is coming up with 0 bytes, but when that's done in a few seconds, it'll come up with the file size. There we are, done. 99 meg. And I'll again just open it with, let's try VLC. Wakey wakey. Let's try media player. There we go. So that is real time. In other words, it's at 15 frames a second, and we know that we have just 300 frames in total, so this video file will be exactly 20 seconds long. And you'll all have access to, even if you don't have programs like After Effects or Premiere, cheap or free video editing programs like the Microsoft Movie Maker or Live Movie Editor or something is another one that's a free Microsoft program. You can use them to really easily stitch together these video files and add in still images and all kinds of things. So have a look at those. They're really simple things to use. So that way, instead of trying to do one long animation that winds in and around everything in your building, do several short ones and stitch them together. And you can have fades and things in between them. No, I haven't. But you can hopefully work that out. For now, you just need to have the animation files created, and you can open them as you're presenting. But I'll just remind you, the one that I've got on my web page here, and I've got a bunch of others I'll maybe show you later. So that's again, how you do things like this. That's a still. That's not animation. Then, after all these stills, there's another still. Okay, in these movie editing programs, you can make those still images move from side to side, so you don't have to render all of this. And then now, this is rendered. That's rendered animation. This is still rendered animation. Okay, we've got a moving door there. You can't do that in Revit. Yes. Okay, so again, there's some moving rendered 3D animation there, but now back to a still image. Okay, back to some rendered animation. And none of these are more, did you notice the movie there? That's hopefully one you know. Anyhow, so there's nothing longer in these, with these 3D rendered animations, longer than about 8 seconds, I think is the longest one. Most of them are only five or so seconds long.
In Revit you can't move sideways. Like
Yes, you can. Yeah, so just do a path and then set the camera to be looking at a right angle to your path at each frame. In fact, I'll do that's such an easy one to do, and that's a good example actually. I'm glad you mentioned it. So, okay, so that's a really effective animation. Okay, so I'll do it on my first floor here. It'd be a nice thing just to have an animation that goes across the front of this building, looking straight at it. Okay, so nice short one you can do with a camera. With a walkthrough again. Sorry. I'll just click one point at the beginning, let's say about here, looking dead at the sign of the hub, and then another one at the end where I'd have my big billboard, if this had been built. And then, okay, so that's my path, 2 points. Now I'll go to Edit Walkthrough, and back to the first keyframe. I'll drag the camera so it's looking straight at the building. And then going to the next keyframe, which is the last keyframe, take it so again it's looking straight at the building. That'll do, something like that. Okay, I can maybe take it a bit further, so I want to go back to path and just drag that point a bit further along so I can see the whole building. Done. I need to then think about the length of that animation, but 10 seconds probably isn't too bad. So 20 seconds is what it will be with 300 frames. So maybe just as an example, if I want that to be 30 seconds, that would be another 150 frames, so 450 in total. And that's going to give me 30 seconds total time. Okay, so again, back to Edit Walkthrough, Open Walkthrough, and I will go back to the previous keyframe and play that all the way through. So that can be a really useful animation. Just something like that. Moving slowly sometimes is good to give people a chance to really look at things. And then maybe just to finish off that, I'm going to say yes, I want to cancel the operation or interrupt that because I haven't shown you anything about the field of view yet. I've just been leaving it on the default, which is a fairly narrow window. If you change the field of view by dragging this out, it does it for the whole animation, which is a good thing. Right, so there we are. Now I can see more. And so if you want wide angle, make it wider than it is high. And that again is for the whole animation. Right, but make sure you realise what you're doing there. You're changing the kind of perspective it is. So notice how angles appear more extreme because it is a wider angle lens, essentially. Okay, so nice simple animation you can do, and think about how you can apply the same technique to get orbits and spins as well, just with a very simple path sometimes, and then think about the direction of your camera.